Oh, I don't know how much memory I have. Part 2 of this. I had to pick up right where it left off because the recording just stopped. And I went and checked on the kids. so then so he's telling me about, her plan. And at the time, I don't know, I was just kind of like, okay, she's doing this for the money, and I get to keep you. I win. I get my man. I get to be loved. And he just told me like she was gonna have to gain like a lot of weight in a short period of time, and that her mom has MS and that they're unbalanced, and she's already learning how to do like this retarded laugh, and she was gonna cut bangs and just try to make herself look retarded and gain this weight and act like she couldn't taste or smell things. And the one that would bother her the most was being like wildly inappropriate, because I guess she just wasn't that kind of person. And that there was only certain restaurants they were going to go to, but they would go to those restaurants and act, she would, show her brain injury to have witnesses. I think Tower Kai is one of them. She liked that it was like, or it was this other, not Tower Kai, excuse me, whatever. I'm sure they went there too. I'm not trying to list any businesses, but sorry. If someone knows how to edit these, maybe they could help me. I don't know. So they had this whole plan. Basically, he just kind of filling me out for how I felt about it, which I told him, I get to have you at the end. Just tell her hurry up, because I'm already, I think 26 at the time, and I want to have kids. Maybe I was 24. I don't know. But I was like, I want to have kids and a family, and it's getting to be about that time, regardless of what you're doing. I'm already waiting for you to finish this up, and also I told him, you should be working. You need to sue for emotional distress, and because you've lost your partner essentially because of that man's actions, and have your own lawsuit. I knew that she was going to essentially be getting $2 million, and that the smallest amount he could get was 100,000. Yeah, and at this point he was trusting me, and he was actually like seeking out my advice on it and everything. And we were drinking and smoking. He's like, I don't want you to remember this. I'm never going to talk to you about this again. I will never, ever self-incriminate. I won't. I cannot address this conversation. And I was like, well, that's not fair. What if, this is happening and it's making me go crazy? He's like, well, I wouldn't let it drive you crazy. I'll tell you, don't let it drive you crazy. He's like, just don't try to do too much. Like, and honestly, it was like, it seems outside of me anyways. Like, why should I worry about it? What happens. I had a very zen mindset at the time. Very non-attached love, very just wanting peace and happiness for everyone. I still maintain that. But anyways, I was smoking and I was drinking, but I was also like kind of trying to remember, which is how I did, because I retain information when I learned something new. So I was kind of storing, like he told me that strangers in a plane. I didn't know what it meant, and I knew I was going to remember what it meant because I retain information best that way. And so I was trying to literally pair this information that I was being like told to forget with new information to kind of make it click more. I don't know if that makes sense. But we ended up talking for a long time, and I looked up a bunch of different things that night. A lot of things that actually I feel like came into play, but let's see. So he said that this was all going to happen, and this was like years before it happened, like 2 years, I think, before it happened, because I think this was like 2014, this happened in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was like 2015, I don't know, but it had time passed, and I like wasn't even sweating it anymore, because like I said, I moved to Ukiah and I was staying there, and then Jacob at some point decided he was going to go to school in LA through the veterans program. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Support it. He was going to leave us both because we were both fighting over him still. But he continued to talk to me. He has told me he continued to talk to her. They both, when the accident happened, Krista was leaving for work in the wrong direction. She turned around on a blind corner, and a witness called in the accident, I believe. She was helicoptered out. She had a broken rib and was having trouble breathing, I guess. And he had told me traumatic brain injury is existent. Like if you stop 10 miles an hour and a tissue box hits you, you can have swelling of the brain, and the symptoms are like you can't prove any of them are happening or not happening or something. And so anyways, so she's in the hospital, and he calls me a bunch, and he's like, okay, I'm going out there. And I'm like, of course, like, go out there. Like, oh my God. And like, I literally remember praying for her multiple times throughout this whole thing, honestly, probably even before the accident. But then I went, so he went down there to be with her, and he stopped going to school, gave notice. He was back in Kelseyville, but he was going like daily or every other day to see her, to help her, to do what he could. I remember he called her, she would call him a liar, and say it wasn't Jacob, and say that she was in jail or casino or whatever. But they agreed what shows to, like, he told me that they were going to watch a bunch of The Office, and that Lil Wayne was in music they always found like he's like the best, and they could listen to him forever and like over and over, and doesn't matter or whatever. And so this was like thought out, especially that I was let in on this almost fully conceived plan 2 years or a year before it even took place. I mean, people aren't fucking around. Anyways, so they do everything they can to get her back into the house. But as soon as she can get out of the eye, basically out from underneath anyone's eye, need to be at home. I don't know how included the parents are, except for I know that the dad got a settlement previously for not wearing back gear, but because he had done it so many times and wasn't reprimanded, he was able to win the lawsuit. And her mom lives on disability and has MS. I'm sure lawyers will come after me for even posting a video with her name in it, with all this information. I'm sure I'll get a cease and desist. It's going to be seen as, I don't even know what the word is right now, and I'm not going to even try and think about it because I need to stay focused. So he gets her back home, and, they know that they have to also have other people witness this behavior. There are going to be people who would stand up and testify that there's been a change of character, this and that. I think Jacob's very close with my father, and my father has a lot of experience in the court, as well as a lot of experience receiving disability, and a lot of experience in having to defend himself in criminal cases. I think that Jacob sought out a lot of insight from my father, and I've heard my father say stuff to him like, when it comes down to it, you don't recall. You know what I mean? And I think that would be his defense, is he can't recall. Couldn't tell you. And, anyway, so they're maintaining face, whatever, until a deposition. Nothing really matters except for that, and I'm still struggling to see him at this point. I think I moved to Redding, because I left the house I was at. This is where this different sexual abuse happened in 2016. I invited, my sister needed somewhere to be, and I let her come live with me, and I tried to be there for her. I was also on a self-destructive path of drinking, and, obviously seeing a committed man, and the emotional distress of dealing with Krista being the way she was. this is not an excuse. I made mistakes. I wanted to make her happy, and ultimately it cost me a lot of happiness. But so I left. I had been sleeping outside. I was waiting for the garden to finish for my roommate, who was angry I wasn't seeing him anymore, and I just left as soon as I could. And I tried to get her set up. She had a place to live for 6 months. She had 2 jobs in walking distance that were scheduled by the same person. And then a guy was going to meet her at DMV to let her drive his car for her DMV test, which I had him. If I gave him a down payment, he was going to let her just take the car and make payments. But I think at that point she didn't want to receive any help from me. I don't think she wanted to receive any help from anyone. And so my emotionally damaged ass went to Reading, and I was working, but I was drinking heavily. I was waking up and filling up a thermos with ice and whiskey, and that's it, just going to town on the drinking and driving all the time, reckless, so stupid. And Jacob's telling me to see other people because I'm crazy and I'm pathetic and spineless and all these mean things because I'm trying to stay by his side while he, deals with this situation. And so then I do sleep with someone. I go up to Lake County in December, 2016, and he takes me out drinking all day. We were drinking hard alcohol and went to several different bars from like 10 a.m. to 4. And then at that point, he told me that now that I'm seeing other people, which he told me to do, that he was going to leave me. He didn't want to see each other anymore. And I made a mistake. I hit his car with my car, not to hurt him, but in my drunken state of mind, I was like, he can't leave me if he can't leave. If I can stop him from walking out that door, essentially, maybe he'll stay with me. I don't know. I have my abandonment issues. Oh gosh. So now I'm in Reading, and I'm trying to deal with this DUI I got. They took me to jail. They took my blood. They, all this stuff, took pictures. And I tried to plead like, no contest to the driving, but no contest to the accidents, but guilty to drinking and driving. And he did no contest to all, which I don't even know if I feel like I'm supposed to be able to say what I am. But anyways, so then Jacob had to come to court. He was continuing to see me. He stood up in front of court and said that I wasn't a danger to him and laughed. And then we had a following court date, several court dates, and at which point she went through her deposition. She was getting her money, but he wouldn't leave her until she had a house or something, which ended up like I was pregnant. He didn't leave her home till 2 weeks before my daughter was born. And he was spending all the income that he was getting by being her IHSS worker there in the home with her. Regrettably, I was a little anxious about it at the time because I didn't have anywhere to go. I was in jail for the first 3 months of my pregnancy, and the 6 months after that, I lived with my aunt and, tried to figure out what I was going to be doing with Jacob, to the point where we kind of made home in his mother's house for the first 3 months, which I also did not like at all. I just wanted my own place to feel comfortable and safe and at home, And so then we end up getting a place in Nice after this. And, she has her money. I'm thinking, okay, we can just start our fucking lives, we're 5 years in, 6 years in. And in my opinion, those years could have been way more valuable. We could have literally had a home, been saving up for a home to buy, could have been we both could have been working, instead of it being a one income household, could have pursued education. Like, I just feel like I lost time, essentially, and I was ready to go. And so we live in Nice for a year, and in the course of this year, I finally start to feel like, oh, this is my own house. Like, I'm a little safe, and things are happening there in Nice too, though. Now my clothes are being moved. Socks are appearing out of nowhere, like in my drawer like I left the house and the sock is like on top of all my other socks and I was just in my sock drawer. Like just little things. And I can't even get into it. I know that sounds crazy in itself, but if you knew me, like, I'm OCD about my socks. I have like two kinds of, anyways, it was like a personal message, I believe, to someone who does know me, that knows that I only know these two socks, someone who knew that I would notice, my sister. I'm pretty sure I gave her those socks because I told her I didn't like them. Anyways, so she's feeling some kind of way, caught up in her addiction and anger, and I know that she had gone to my father and my brother, and I could tell that they were talking different and acting different, watching me a little closer. Just, I could feel it, and we were never really close. I wanted to be close with my brother, but I'm just not cool enough for him or anyone else, I guess. Gosh, it's unflattering, huh? So, so this is all continuing. I'm getting staph on my face. I'm getting staph on my ass. And in Nice, I am having, and it's small, it's smaller. It was much smaller. Like I one time pumped my Aveeno face cream and there was like a chunk like it had been solid in this tube, and then another chunk like 2 pumps later, and I was like, that's really weird. I don't know if I use like 7 pumps sometimes, and so I did like a experiment, and instead of rubbing it on my face, I took one on each leg, not in between, so there would be no friction, because I assumed it was gonna be something, like a spider bite or something, and they were both, I got one on each leg, right where I put it, and they were big and painful, and I'm glad they weren't on my face. I was watchful of a lot of things like this. I smell my conditioner every day. I smell my shampoo and conditioner. I smell my spices every day. I don't know. I didn't realize that wasn't something everyone does, but like I would know immediately when stuff was off. And I just kind of took the stance, like, if I just don't do anything back, if I just let them get their anger out, or, just let them see me, let them watch who I am, and they'll realize, like, that's not who I am, and I have nothing but love and acceptance and forgiveness and kindness, Not everyone can be that way 100% of the time. I certainly am not, but that's what I try to be. Eliana? Okay. I don't know. I'll tell you in a minute, okay? I just realized I've been up here for like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh gosh, it's quiet. Joshua's taking a long nap, but so time passes, and it feels like, sometimes I feel like it's okay, and then other times I'm having, and it just never stops. And I don't know what this one's called. Oh, hi, baby. Hold on a second. Okay, all right.